I will convincingly demonstrate to you that the doctor violated the basic standards of medical care. Would you like to learn what this is about? Come join me as I share with you this great information. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury trial lawyer practicing law in the state of New York. When you bring a lawsuit seeking compensation for the harms and losses you suffered because of a doctor's carelessness, we have an obligation to the jury. We actually have to prove your case. Now, how do we do that? Well, the judge ultimately tells the jury that we have the burden of proof. Now, what does that really mean? The burden of proof means that we have to show to the jury that you are more likely right than wrong, than what the doctor did was incorrect, and that the doctor violated the basic standards of care. Now, what does that mean, that we are more likely right than wrong? Well, I will tell you, if you compare this to, let's say, a criminal case, where a prosecutor has a burden to show beyond a reasonable doubt, that is a very, very high burden. In a civil case like this involving medical malpractice here in New York, we do not have that high a burden. Instead, we only have to show that you're more likely right than wrong. And what does that really mean? Well, it means we have to tip the scales ever so slightly. That means that if the jury is evenly decided, 50-50, they can't decide who's right and who's wrong, you are ultimately going to lose. All we have to do is tip the scales just a little bit so that we can show that we are more likely right than wrong. And that could be 50.1%, 52%, anything where the scales tip. Another analogy is where you're playing football. The tip of the football has to be just a fraction into the end zone. It doesn't have to be all the way into the end zone in order to get a verdict in our favor. And once the jury determines that we have shown that we are more likely right than wrong, that what happened is true, now they will then go ahead and consider what are the damages, what are the injuries that you actually suffered, and then make an award of compensation to you for the harms and losses that you've suffered. So when you hear the phrase, what is the burden of proof? What that really means in New York in a medical malpractice case is that we are obligated to show to the jury that you are more likely right than wrong. Then they go on to the next question, which is something known as causation. And that's a topic for another day, but the bottom line is, once we are able to show that, they then move on to the question of, okay, did the wrongdoing cause harm? And if the answer is yes, then they'll go ahead and make an award to compensate you for your injuries. So why do I share this great information with you? I share with you to give you an insight and an understanding to what goes on in the litigation process in a medical malpractice case here in the state of New York. You know, I realize you're watching this because you have questions or concerns about your own particular matter. Well, again, if your matter happened here in New York and you do have legal questions, what I encourage you to do is pick up the phone and call me. This is what I do every single day, and I'd love to talk to you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, Gerry, at Oginski-law.com. That's it for today's quick video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a wonderful day.